and we will be talking about how to win more work with practical BIM. So the agenda for today will be two parts, mainly, firstly, selling Hollywood BIM, and then number two, taking a more practical approach. Hollywood, even though it looks very nice on the outside, there's a lot of work that goes into creating and producing, etc. And if you promise too much, it sometimes doesn't always get the desired outcome or even the correct outcome. And so too will this happen on a project if we're talking about BIM. So let's talk about selling Hollywood BIM. Now, there's a lot of different angles that you are selling BIM from or using BIM in your sales process. You might be an architect trying to win work from a client. You might be a contractor trying to put together the pieces and provide a better service to your client. You might be a BIM consultant or manager. All these different teams have different requirements. And you might have BIM on your website, which is great, good first step. And do you have a salesperson who's probably providing BIM opportunities? Usually, teams will have a slideshow or a presentation or a person that might know just enough about BIM to go and sell it. And this is dangerous. So this is Bill, and he's saying that BIM is like this magical diamond trying to sell all of these benefits, and maybe the client is not very informed, and maybe the client can be won over. And maybe a lot of teams are making promises like these, we are going to have the most speedy design and automated process. We are going to have perfect estimates with detailed quantities that update with the press of a button, potentially no RFIs or problems. The pitch is BIM is going to solve all of these things on this project. And if we just commit to doing BIM, and because we can do BIM, we can help solve all of these things. And how can anybody say no to any of this? Do these BIM promises win projects? Yes, it does. Absolutely. And that's a little evil, don't you think? Evil BIM is not good for our industry, any industry for that matter. But if you have BIM on your website and you can talk a good game on your presentation, then maybe you know that you could win your project. And how did the BIM manager react? You won the project, great. But the BIM manager is probably saying, you said what? You promised what? So the BIM manager is that producer in the Hollywood industry. He or she has got to commit to these promises, and that's where things get a little tricky, and that makes the job just that much more difficult. So the BIM manager is a little upset. So why is the BIM manager so upset? Well, the BIM manager knows that he knows the difference between Hollywood BIM and practical BIM. He or she knows that was Hollywood BIM that you sold. The client saw this magical production, and this was what was sold. This was what was sold, actually. But the BIM manager knows that all of this entourage, all of this equipment and tools and processes and best practices are needed to deliver that end result. So it's really a big difference, and it's a lot to ask for from the teams to deliver on those Hollywood BIM promises. And what usually happens when people overpromise, the teams are a bit frantic. There are these diamonds that are sold all over the place. It's not a straight line to success. Trying to pick up all of these crystals along the way, things start to get entangled. And if we aimed for 9 diamonds that were sold, 8 or 9 or 10 diamonds, and we come out with like just 1.5 diamonds, then maybe we end time, we see that it didn't meet the client's expectations. This doesn't look like it would meet any oversold BIM expectation. And the client satisfaction. So when we look at that the client would, or if the client would be overall satisfied, well, with 1.5 out of 9 that we sold, not likely. So do you think that the client would want BIM on their next project? Probably not. He doesn't look very committed. So let's go through a more practical approach. So we talked about the different personas, the different people, and you might be selling BIM for different reasons. And there's so many challenges that you could be using BIM to solve. You could be an architect, you could be doing very different things compared to a contractor, compared to a service provider, or even a BIM consultant. Now, so let's meet Helen. Helen has a practical BIM strategy. She knows exactly how to go about that whole workflow and share with the client what is practical and what will be delivered and what will win her more business. So here's Helen's practical BIM strategy. There are 4 main points that she goes through. Number 1, she makes sure she asks the right questions that are relevant to what she can do. She defines a very clear and visible BIM scope. She gains agreement from all parties, and she continues to report back to her client the progress. And she gets repeat business, very important. So how does Helen, firstly, ask the right questions? So she has to look at what are these services that they can commit to. Here's a list of questions that as an architect, you might want to consider if you want to use VR for your design views. Is that something that would interest the client? What type of scope you should and shouldn't be including in your projects? And these are some examples that are more relevant to architects. Can you help identify and support prefab opportunities? Can you help with early leasing of the building? So asking the questions rather than saying, would you like BIM? Or here's a nice simulation, or here's a 3D model. These type of questions are better asked early on because it can be tedious to alter this later on in the project. These questions are so to basically eliminate risk on your end, and also so that you don't look like the bad guy. So contractors should, where are you? All right, so contractors should ask questions more about expectations of receiving models from the design team. To use those models on the construction site, can we use the models from design for quantifying estimates? Are you looking to lower life cycle costs? Would you like to receive handover data in a BIM or IFC, in a COBie? What sort of data exchange are you looking at? And then if you're a BIM services team, the first thing, is there a design model to start off with? Am I jumping on to speed up the modeling process or coordination? What's the LOD level of geometry or level of information? So knowing why you are being asked for a BIM deliverable is very important, as you might be overproducing in certain areas or underproducing in others. So it's always good to ask the hard questions. So how does Helen go about defining that and in a visual BIM scope? If she's an architect, she's going to look more about finishes, maybe. If it's a design review, if it's a model that's going to be used for a walkthrough, accuracy is important, or maybe it isn't. As an architect, you know your capabilities, and you have to align that to the project needs. If AR and VR are expected on this project, which areas will be reviewed in VR? Is it the entire building? This will affect the time it's going to take to add maybe all those materials, or is it just a certain space or area? Do we need to add furniture? So ask the right questions and make sure you align your capabilities with them. So a contractor might be focused on a coordinated building project through a model, focusing on reducing and eliminating field conflicts, which reduces RFI significantly compared to other methods. He wants to be able to visualize construction, increase productivity, reduce construction costs, potentially less change orders, site, more accurate as-built drawings maybe. And then the services team, if you have a standard list of the scope in a visual form, you can then communicate that to your clients so that they don't have to be BIM experts to understand that, and be able to visually agree on that scope is very, very powerful. So after going through that whole process, how does Helen get agreement to that? So Helen, after meeting with the clients, with the disciplines, after any meeting, she can invite her team to give that meeting the agreed on scope in a nicely formatted PDF. So imagine not having to follow up anymore. So all the follow-up was done before you even left the meeting. All clients want to know what's going on, but sometimes that can take a lot of time to share the updates and keep the client informed. Helen uses a simple and continuous update workflow where teams that are doing the modeling are dragging and dropping a task, and instantly the model is color-coded based on those linked objects so that the owner can see whether something is ahead or behind. And you can control what the client and owner can and can't see. And as the model gets approved by simply publishing them in the same environment, being able to download those models to use in other applications and to use with other workflows, maybe to integrate with BIM 360 as well. So we talked about the Hollywood way of doing things and how it's a quick and easy way to win some projects and wow the client in the short term. But if all doesn't go well, then the client won't want BIM on their next project. And now we talked about Helen and her 4 steps to defining better BIM requirements and making sure that in now. 10. Very much so. And so how do the two approaches compare? So Hollywood BIM seems tedious and going in circles and a lot of not having proper direction, all of this because of overpromising and not coming out with much at the end. Whereas once we choose a practical approach and target specific, powerful and well-defined objectives, and then communicate the progress as we go and pick up all the diamonds and gems along the way, and as a result, do you think your client would likely more would like more practical BIM on their next project? Yes. So being able to understand what it is that you can provide and package that in a way that you can deliver it and go about a more purposeful and practical approach to BIM. And that will be a more powerful reason why you should win more work. So what's the moral of the story? Keep it simple. Less is more over quantity. Conclusion, ask that your client can actually understand. Reduce administration time to focus on what's important. Continuously report progress for extremely high levels of client satisfaction, very important. And as a result, sign copious amounts of repeat business. If you need some assistance, here are some resources to help your team, your BIM team grow. Follow the link. I'll put the link in the chat to get more information on Planoly. And you can book your masterclass accreditation sessions with us now. Stay safe and enjoy.